Welcome to the Wiss Mama Bear Podcast, episode 47. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, cancel culture. As someone who doesn't watch Fox News, the entity that defends against lawsuits based in their dishonesty by telling the court that they are not in fact reporting actual facts, the term cancel culture is not one I hear much at all. With politicians like Congressman Jim Jordan beating the cancel culture drum, I figured no time like the present to figure out what it's all about. The Urban Dictionary describes cancel culture as dismissing something or somebody and rejecting an idea or individual. It's the phenomena by which people lose their job or social standing for their behavior. On its face, it sounds like accountability for one's actions, a check on the balance of social powers. One seemingly valid criticism of it, however, is the argument that it leaves no room for apologies and/or demonstration of change. In other words, why would anyone ever take responsibility for their words or actions if doing so doesn't save that which they want or value? If we're going to boycott whomever for their transgressions, we arguably don't create space for change, is the argument. I would argue that consequences for our behavior is an important part of actually valuing personal responsibility and/or accountability in our society. I would further argue that being honest about our mistakes and the process of introspection following a cancel cultural experience is the growth to be better and actually change. The challenge, however, is that it requires the maturity to do the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do. In other words, it is easier to say the right thing, to preserve that which we want, for example, to avoid the loss of, say, a job or social standing. To lose it all and then rebuild without the immediate gratification or benefit of preserving that which someone doesn't want to lose is hard. It takes a fortitude of character that we don't often teach our youth or model as adults. The irony of the cries of cancel culture coming from Fox News and politicians like Representative Jim Jordan is that, as applied, it sounds like whining from those who do not want to be held accountable now that their harmful actions are coming to light. The irony of Jim Jordan being the proverbial spokesperson of the anti-cancel culture movement is especially rich. Why? Well, old Jimmy Jordan was the Ohio State assistant wrestling coach who enabled the sexual assault of college athletes. He made national news in 2018 when he claimed that he had no idea, a claim that would get backlash from former athletes who said that was a lie, that he not only knew, he partook in conversations about it in the locker room. Someone who lacks the integrity or strength of character to embrace the social inconvenience of doing the right thing in the face of sexual assault is an understandable spokesperson for a movement that doesn't want people to support accountability for anyone's actions. The question is, why are so many willing to fall for it? Here's this guy on TV, rallying against cancel culture as a member of a party that prides itself in identifying as the party of personal responsibility. Rather than jump in while the water is warm, viewers should be asking themselves, why is this Republican politician advocating on national television to enable criminal and unethical behavior? What's his history on personal responsibility? Is he a credible source? Why would anyone find someone who enables sexual assault to be a credible source on this issue? Our First Amendment freedom of speech works given the supposition that there is value in airing out speech in the marketplace of ideas. That marketplace of ideas stops functioning in a healthy or productive way if it stops valuing things like sound logic and/or truth. It also stops serving a very necessary function as a check on that which people say if there are or can be no actual consequences. Our freedom of speech is not, nor should it be, freedom from consequences. Why then is there so much social pressure coming from extremist right to not do anything that could be described as cancel culture? Well, because the extremist right doesn't want to be held accountable for their extremist actions. Take any given neo-Nazi white supremacist from the terrorist attack on our Capitol. They're probably losing their job because being a hateful bigot is rightfully bad for business. Even worse, Should any given neo-Nazi be a member of law enforcement or a firefighter, now we're dealing with fitness for public service and the harm that comes in eroding public trust. For the first time in too long, those who enjoy the entitlement that accompanies their privilege are feeling the heat for being not such great people. Rather than own up to it and take the opportunity to dig deep, do some much overdue introspection, and seek professional help for the harm that they have caused others, they want to be coddled and enabled. For those of you who have experienced someone who terrorizes their family behind closed doors, you know what I'm talking about. Abusers don't want to be held accountable. They are generally not actually interested in putting in the hard work to change. They do and say whatever they need to in the moment to avoid accountability for their continued decision to do nothing and further pave the way for more of the same. I'm coming to realize that, quote, cancel culture, close quote, is Republican speak for, quote, enable me more, close quote. It is the social pressure to avoid hard conversations, avoid holding anyone accountable for anything. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. famously said, quote, the right to swing my fist ends where the other man's nose begins, close quote. The anti-cancel culture cries from the extremist Republican Party effectively communicate that they get to swing their fists wherever, hitting whomever they want, and we are the problem for imposing consequences for those actions. It is sort of like the extremist Republican Party calling for unity and peace, despite not putting in the work to actually make that possible. It is the abuser who terrorizes his or her family for years, and once finally facing consequences saying, come on baby, if you drop the charges, we can move forward. Let's be positive. Anyone with any connection to sanity wants peace and unity. But mature adults know that no progress or change is rooted in lies and/or denial, and healing only begins with honesty. Good leadership understands that accountability and justice pave the way for unity and peace. Yesterday, we celebrated and honored the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He famously stated, quote, when evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men burn and bomb, good men must build and bind. When evil men shout ugly words of hatred, good men must commit themselves to the glories of love. Close quote. He also said, quote, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Close quote. Where do we stand when faced with that which we know is wrong? Do we say nothing? Do we laugh along? Do we walk away? Do we tell someone? As a community, do we pressure silence from those who are courageous enough to speak up? These are all questions we should be asking ourselves as our children are watching, and more often than not, are the ones who get to shoulder the consequences of our failures to lead responsibly as adults. As a mother of 4 kids and a bonus mom to another 3, that is sobering. Episode 48 and Inauguration Day, tomorrow. See you there.